Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. This video is a Pan Those Eyeshadows update for the month of October. I do have 2 shadows that I'm rolling out of my quintet. So let's just get started. Like always, I will begin by showing you the 5 shades that I was working with in the past month. I do have a shade that I used 30 times, so I will be rolling it out, and that is from my Too Faced Bonbons palette. It's the shade Totally Fetched, which is like a hot pink type of shade, kind of satiny. I used this shade incredibly sparingly. It's also a very hard-pressed formula, so you're not really going to see a big difference between last month and this month. I did use it an additional 15 times, sometimes in the crease, but also I did try to experiment by using it as a blush a couple times. I tried a couple different methods as a blush and it never really looked good. I never really loved how it looked, so I did stop doing that. I think it's just a little bit too bright, a little bit too hot pink to look good on the cheeks. Like I said, I used it an additional 15 times this month, meaning I've used it 30 times total, and I am ready to roll it out, so I will be rolling in something new in its place later in the video. The next shade I want to talk about is one that I did end up hitting pan on. It's from my ABH Modern Renaissance palette, and I was working on the shade Venetian Red. This shade is kind of similar to Totally Fetched. It is kind of like a satin shade. It is very warm, but it's got more of like a red undertone versus a pink. I found this was a lot more wearable, and I did mix it with other shades in my quintet to get a really nice rich cranberry color. It is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I mixed it with Cocoa, which is the brown shade from Too Faced that I'm also working on, and I think them together makes it a little less bright, a little less pinky, and more cranberry, more burgundy. Over the past month, I used this an additional 16 times to hit pan, and I will be trying to hit pan on another shade from this palette. I'll randomly generate which one of the 2 I'll be working on later on in the video. Now for the 3 shades that I didn't hit pan on, but I still made good progress. The first one I want to talk about is a single from Clionadh. I rolled this in last month, and it's the shade Ripple. It's a gorgeous glitter multi-chrome. It's a very interesting shade. It definitely has an aqua base, but then it had a really beautiful lilac-y shift, and I really enjoyed using this sometimes on the lid, but also I liked using it a lot on the inner corner, which is how I'm wearing it today. This shade is incredibly crumbly, so even though I did only use it 8 times, I have made quite a dip already. I imagine if I'll continue using it at this pace, I will have pan on it next month, just because of how soft the formula is. I would pair it a lot with Creep It Real from the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette. I think the Creep It Real matte shade is very bright and pigmented, and it made a really nice base for this to really pop. That's actually how I'm wearing it on my inner corner today. I would also wear it with glitter glues to kind of keep fallout to a minimum and also just make it a little bit more glittery, keep that glitter more compacted in one space. I'm getting lines all over my face, and I don't really know how to keep that from happening, but whatever. Like I was saying, this is a shade that I got as a free gift with purchase in my most recent Clionadh Cosmetics haul, and I really had never used it before putting it in this project pan, and I'm really glad I'm getting a chance to play around with it. I'm finding a lot of different ways I can pair it with other colors to get incredibly beautiful looks. The next shade I want to talk about is from the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. It's the shade Wings. It's a coppery metallic shade, and I have used this an additional 11 times, meaning I have used it a total of 20 times so far. I know how long it takes to hit pan on shades in this palette. I've hit pan on that green shade right next to it, and it took me like 60 or 70 uses. Even though this is a really nice shade for this time of year, I don't find that I love this color that much, enough to wear it another 40 plus times in order to hit pan. So I think I will use it 10 times next month and then roll it out. And the last one is from the Too Faced Born This Way Natural Nudes palette, and I was working on the shade Cocoa, which is one of their matte shades. It's a really beautiful, warm, deeper brown. This one I used an additional 19 times, and not only would I use it in the crease and on the lid, but I would also use it on the lower lash line. I pretty much use it everywhere. I love this shade, and I also love the matte formula from this palette. There is a tiny dip kind of going in the middle there, but I don't know how long it's going to take to hit pan. I don't know how deep the pans are in here, and even though this is a very creamy formula, it's also very tightly pressed, I guess you could say, because there's really no fallout. There's virtually no fallout, which is good. It means I'm not really wasting any product whenever I use it, but I also don't know what that means for number of uses before I hit pan. We'll just have to see. For this one, I might hit pan on it by next month, especially if I'm using it as much as I did this previous month, but I also might just have a bigger dent and nowhere near hitting pan. I don't have any bonus pans to share this month, but I do have some shades that I used a lot in conjunction with the shades for my quintet, and I'll talk about those a little bit more in depth whenever I talk about my looks that I created. Let's take a second to talk about my pan percentage. I don't have any specific goal in mind, but I do think it is a fun number to look at every month. Last month in September, I had 39 pans out of 203 shadows, giving me a percentage of 19.2%. In October, I had 40 pans and I had 233 shadows, giving me a pan percentage of 17.2%. The reason I have more shadows is because I purchased the Too Faced Natural Lust palette, and that is an additional 30 shades. Now let's talk about some of my favorite looks that I created this past month. I do have 6 to share with you. The first one is probably the one that I wore the most. It really was just me focusing on Cocoa from Too Faced Natural Nudes palette. I would put that all over the lid. I would put it in the crease and on the lower lash line. I might have Wings from Tarte very slightly on the lid. I can't remember if this look was all matte or if it had a little bit of that shimmer on the lid, but really, I mean, the focus of this look is definitely Cocoa. For look number 2, I do admit the lip color doesn't really make a lot of sense with the shades that I'm wearing on my eyes. It's like very peachy and very warm, and I don't think it made a lot of sense with my outfit either, but that's fine, whatever. Once again, I do have a lot of Cocoa on the outer third, lower lash line, and the crease. I have Too Good from the Too Faced Natural Lust palette on the lid, and then I have Ripple on the inner corner. I didn't put the Creep It Real shade underneath to make it brighter. I kind of just wanted like a little bit of extra light blue sparkle there. Look number 3, I used a lot of the shades from the Colourpop Flutter By palette, which has a lot of purpley mauves. I have the mauves in the crease, and then I put Creep It Real from Shroud Cosmetics on the lower lash line, and then I put Ripple all over the lid. Look number 4, I really loved how it looked. I used a glitter glue for like the first time in years, maybe ever, I can't remember, all over the lid, and then I put Ripple on top. I do have Creep It Real underneath that to make it pop a little bit, and then I focused Venetian Red from ABH Modern Renaissance palette on the outer third of the eye and a little bit in the crease. And I really love how these two shades looked together. I really feel like that purple and blue was so beautiful, and it was so chunky and glittery and beautiful in real life. I really like how this look turned out. Look number 5, I think, was featured in my palette wishlist video as well. I focused a lot of Colourpop Issues in the crease, which is a really light peachy shade, and then I built up that orange a little bit more with Third Eye from Shroud Cosmetics from the Creepy Cute palette. I have Cocoa all over the outer third, a little bit in the crease and on the lower lash line, and then I patted a little bit of Venetian Red over where Cocoa was just to add a little bit of redness there. And then on my lips, I'm wearing a shade from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's in the shade Honey. And the very last one was an all matte look that I really loved wearing a lot. Once I discovered that oranges and burgundies look really nice together, I did that a lot. So I'm wearing all the same shades from look number 5, but I just focused less on the orange and focused more on the red. So I wore more of Venetian Red than Cocoa just to make it a little bit more reddish. And then I made sure to put less of the orange on my lid and in the crease, so there was like a little hint of it, but the red was definitely like the main focus of the look. I thought that was gorgeous. I think that's perfect for this time of year, and I wore this a lot just because I really like how that peachy orange and that burgundy look together on the eye. I never really was one to wear all matte looks. I always felt like I wanted to add a shimmer to finish the look, but doing matte eyes a couple times last month has showed me that I actually do really like how that looks too. Now for my favorite part of the video, I'm going to be rolling 2 new shades in to play with. I do have the 3 that I'm still working on. I haven't hit pan on yet from my quintet already swatched on my hand, and I know I am going to be randomly generating one of the last 2 shades left in my Modern Renaissance palette that don't have pan yet. I have Red Ochre and Real Gar left, so I'm just going to do a quick randomization using my Pretty Random app just for those 2 shades. So the minimum is going to be 1, the maximum is going to be 2, and I'm going to randomize with you on the screen. And I got number 2, which is Real Gar, so that's exciting. I do really like that shade a lot. I think it'll go really nicely with that Wings color. And this is one of my favorite shades to reach for from the palette, so super pumped I'm going to get to play with that, especially during this time of the year. Now for the exciting part, I think out of all the eligible shadows I have that don't have pan on them, I have 144 to choose from, so I'm going to make that my new maximum. And the shade I will be randomly generating is number 79. Oh, that is a single from Makeup Geek in the shade Morocco. I think that might be too similar to one of the shades that I'm already using. Yeah, so if you can see, this is Morocco from Makeup Geek, and it's really similar to Realgar. So I'm actually going to choose another shade. I don't want to have another plummy purple fiasco like I did 2 months ago when I was working on 3 different purple shades at once. So I'm actually going to regenerate. And the color I got is 110. And you know what? It's actually from the Too Faced Bonbons palette. It's in the shade Cotton Candy, which is this really light pinky shade. I think this is also a satin. This Pan Those Eyeshadows project this year loves the Bonbons palette. This is like the 4th shade that I've generated from the palette so far this year. So that is what my quintet looks like. You definitely have a couple pops of color, but you also just have some really rich orangey browns, which I think is going to be really great for this time of year. I am getting really into like warmer smoky looks at the moment, so this is perfect. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Cotton Candy. It is incredibly light, but it does have like a very cool toned pinky shift to it. I think it'll go nicely with Ripple, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'll have to figure out ways to be creative with that shade in particular. So those are the shades I'll be playing with next month. I definitely think I'll be able to roll out Wings. I just need to use it 10 more times, which I think is totally doable. I do actually think I could have pan on Ripple just because the formula is very crumbly, and whenever I use it I do end up using a lot, even if I am just using it on the inner corner. Cocoa, we'll have to see. I might have pan on it, I might not. As for Realgar, I'm not sure. With Venetian Red, I was able to use it with that Cocoa shade, mix them together to get the shade that I wanted. I don't know if I need to mix Realgar and Cocoa together as often as I did with Venetian Red. I definitely think I can make a dent on it. I already have used it quite a bit, so that already is kind of a dent in the shadow, and the ABH formulas are a little bit softer than other mattes. As for Cotton Candy, I'm not really sure. That might just have to be something that I put on the lower lash line and on the inner corner. I don't really know how it'll look all over the lid, and I don't really know if that's something that I would want to wear all over the lid right now during this time of year. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll pair it with some of the mauve shades I've been playing with in my Flutter By and Making Mauves palette from Colourpop. But yeah, I feel good. I feel good about it. I'm really excited. I think I might actually have pan on every shade from that ABH Modern Renaissance palette by the end of the year, which was my goal. I hope you guys enjoyed this update. Let me know if you have any ideas for using these shades in any special or unique creative ways. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!